The Star Wars prequels, when they first came out, felt unfinished and frankly were missing a lot of details about everything, which is why when we first saw Order 66, it was sad but not that emotional, because at the time there was very few things known about the Jedi who died or the clones who betrayed them. But then the Clone Wars came out, and it's safe to say that this changed the course of Star Wars forever, introducing so many new characters, planets, and overall not only filling in the gaps but also growing bonds and relationships between characters and arcs. I could go on an hour rant on why the Clone Wars is the best show of all time, but amidst all the greatness, were there any deleted and forgotten arcs within the show? In today's video, I'll be discussing all 9 deleted Clone Wars arcs and what they would have been like. Starting off with Crystal Crisis on Utapau. This arc was first introduced to us during a Star Wars celebration like many of these other arcs, along with the Bad Batch. In this arc, we follow Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin investigating the mysterious death of a Jedi Master known as Tuon. And some detail on who this Jedi was, Tuon was described as someone more like Qui-Gon Jinn, who didn't always agree with the Jedi Council and would go on missions alone for days without telling anyone. After going into further investigation about her death, they would discover a brand new separatist weapon that is being built, unlike anyone has ever seen before, and while searching for answers, they find that General Grievous has also been stationed on the planet for his own mission that involves kyber crystals. This arc would have shown us the early steps of Palpatine's plan to build the Death Star. As most of you may know, Palpatine was already building the Death Star in the outreaches of the galaxy. This arc would have really connected so much of the prequels to the originals. This next arc is pretty interesting, not only because the Bad Batch was in it, but because it sort of finished and was put into an official episode of the Bad Batch. This arc would have taken place in the last months of the Clone Wars and would have explored a lot of things. It would have explained how and why Yoda had good relations with the Wookiees and why they would help him, and also would have gone into further detail of why the Wookiees and the Trandoshans hate each other so much. It also would have explored how the Separatists were able to plan and enact the invasion on Kashyyyk. And because it's about the Wookiees, Chewbacca and Tarful would make an appearance and would actually be the main character. The reason I say that it's sort of official is because many concepts of this arc was put into a Bad Batch episode on Kashyyyk with the Jedi survivor known as Gungi. If you like bounty hunters, then you're gonna love this arc. This series of episodes would have followed Cad Bane and a young Boba Fett on the desert planet we're all too familiar with, Tatooine, saving a child that was kidnapped by Tusken Raiders. And this arc would have shown us Cad Bane and Boba Fett having a somewhat of a rivalry. It's because Cad Bane actually had a rivalry with Jango Fett, and because he's no longer alive, wanted to settle it with Boba Fett and finally found out which one of them is the better bounty hunter. In this arc, we also would have been introduced to Cad Bane's new ship, the Justifier, which we saw in Bad Batch Season 1. This arc would have also shown us the standoff between Boba Fett and Cad Bane, where they shot at each other in the head, and Boba Fett gets his iconic dent in his helmet, and Cad Bane gets a metal plate in his head due to him also being shot in the head. This next arc would have actually followed the one and only Captain Rex and the murderous R2-D2, and according to the creators would have been somewhat of a Top Gun story. The arc would have been about an argument that the clone army and the ground forces and the pilots and their astromechs had. Unfortunately, we don't know much about it, but what we do know is the main plot would have followed Captain Rex and R2 being stranded on Ryloth after crashing his ship on the planet. And while there, Rex would reprogram an astromech on how to survive. The next arc, from what we know, would have been called Return to Mon Cala. It would have followed Padme working to end Chancellor Palpatine's extended stay in office. Because for those of you who don't know, Palpatine stayed in office long past his time and still held great power. Anakin and Padme would have traveled to Mon Cala to meet King Li Char. And while there, a murder would happen with the Clone leader, as well as Padme wanting to put together an alliance with the Corran to help her take Palpatine out of power. But as we know, this most likely would have failed. We will now be getting onto the very important arcs, starting off with the Son of Dathomir arc. And unlike many of these arcs, this would actually be made into a comic book series, which I might cover in the future. The story would start off after Season 5 when Maul was captured by Palpatine to draw out Mother Talzin and kill her. The reason being, Palpatine feared Mother Talzin and her power and wanted to eliminate her because she might be a possible threat. But after escaping his former master with the help of his Mandalorians, Maul would seek revenge and capture Dooku and Grievous. But things would not go as planned because the Jedi would soon become involved in hopes of killing Maul, Dooku, and Grievous at once and finally ending the war. But after Grievous escapes, Maul and Dooku team up to fight the Jedi. But after barely managing to escape, Mother Talzin would take control over Dooku's body, and the finale would have been a fight between Maul, Talzin, and the possessed Dooku versus Darth Sidious and General Grievous. Dooku would be freed from Mother Talzin's control by Palpatine, and Grievous would actually kill Mother Talzin, and Maul, realizing that he has no hopes of winning, leaves with the help of the spirit of Mother Talzin. This next arc would have been insane to see, not only because it would have confirmed them as canon, but also would have introduced a new threat to the galaxy. The Yuan Vong arc would have followed a Vong ship scout studying the Republic and the Jedi, but while we don't know much about it, the creator did say it would have a creepy story that's like an X-File episode with an alien abduction in it. But unlike the comics, the Yuan Vong would not have Force immunity, and also would not have explored their origins, but still would have been incredibly cool to see. We are now at the final 2 arcs. This first one is called Return to the Jedi Temple, and would have told the story of the discovery of a Sith shrine shrine under the Jedi Temple, and would have followed Ahsoka's discovery of a threat in the Coruscant underworld, and would go to warn the Jedi about it. And the threat she would warn them about would be about the Sith shrine underneath the Jedi Temple. And after warning the Jedi, Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Ahsoka would have gone down there to rescue Yoda from the shrine. This arc would have also shown us more of Oppa Rancisis and Darth Sidious trying to break into the Holocron Vault, but would be unsuccessful because of Ahsoka stopping him. But although Ahsoka and Sidious do fight in a way, they never actually see one another's faces. And now our final arc is the Dark Disciples arc. It starts off with Dooku orchestrating the complete genocide of a group of people, and the Jedi Council wanting to finally end the Count's rule of terror would send Quinlan Vos on an undercover mission to track down and kill Dooku. But while searching for information about Dooku, Quinlan Vos would meet Asajj Ventress, and the two of them would team up to fight Dooku, but not before Asajj would teach Quinlan a little bit about the dark side of the Force. And after spending a lot of time together, the two of them would start to grow feelings for one another, but when the time came to kill Dooku, they would both be severely outmatched and would get absolutely wrecked. And Quinlan would actually turn to the dark side and become Dooku's apprentice. Later, Ventress would try to bring Vos back to light side and would succeed, and they would both try one more time to kill Dooku, but just like the last time, they would be defeated. But right before finishing Quinlan with a deadly Force lightning, Ventress would jump in front of him and take the full attack. But after barely managing to escape, Quinlan Vos and Obi-Wan Kenobi would lay Asajj Ventress to rest in the rivers of Dathomir. But now that we know that she's alive in the Bad Batch Season 3, it is unknown if most of this, if any, of this series is canon. These episodes would have been so amazing to see, not only because it means more Clone Wars, but because it would have introduced so much more lore and character building. But anyway, those are the 9 deleted Clone Wars arcs. What is your favorite arc? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed today's video, please feel free to like and subscribe. We're so close to hitting 1,000 subscribers at the time of recording this video. And once I do, I plan on releasing a video about your Q&As about me and the channel, so make sure to leave them in the comments as well. Thank you so much for watching today's video, and with that, my fellow Star Wars nerds, may the Force be with you.